In this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips to help any outdoor instructor develop their skills. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're just starting off in the industry or you've been doing this for decades, this will apply to everyone. So, hope you find it useful. Enjoy! Hi, my name is Niall and welcome to Instructor 101 for outdoor instructors that want to make an even bigger impact on those that they work with. In the last video from Instructor 101, I explained that for me, one of the biggest development tools was accountability. So make sure to check that out at some point too. I'll make sure there's a link to that. But in this video, I want to talk about a Japanese business philosophy, which I've kind of adopted to the work that I do, which is called Kaizen, which is all about continuous or ongoing improvement. So what tools do we have as outdoor instructors that can help us with our continuous improvement? Now, experience is going to be a huge part of this. Now, it's fundamental to everything that we do and it gives us a strong foundation for all the other stuff. But for most of us, we're probably able to access or gain some sort of experience already. And I want to try and focus on 5 different things that can help enhance and complement the experience that we're already gaining to help us with that continuous development. Let's start with the biggest one first of all. Number 1, watching others. So if you get given the chance to watch another outdoor instructor, jump on it. Not only will you start to see a different style or approach of doing things, but you'll get to see different ideas of solving potential problems that you might encounter. And because you're watching from the outside in, you can start to see these different ideas that are coming up and you can go, okay, what do I really like? What can I steal or magpie, I guess? But what can you steal? What can you tweak to adapt it to suit you, the needs of your clients, but also to suit your style as well, so it's more genuine and more personal to you. Now, it might be the case that you actually see something and you go, I wouldn't do that, or that's just not me. Absolutely fine, but at least you've seen it. It's given you a different idea. Maybe you'll have it in your toolbox for another time, but at least you've learned something and you can go, yeah, you know what, I'm not going to try that. I'm happy with one of the other approaches that I've got. As a side note, I'd really encourage you to watch people with very different approaches. For example, like if you're one of those really loud characters, absolutely fine. But if you're one of those characters, then maybe watch someone which is a lot quieter than you and see how they approach different things. It's really worth watching. Now, you could take this idea and flip it on its head completely, which leads us on to the next tip. Number 2. Ask someone to observe you. Now, this one might feel a bit weird, and I know that some people will be like, ugh, that's just like an assessment. But sometimes logistically, it's easier. And if you get the right person, you can get a real different perspective on what happened and create a real dialogue and get some really useful feedback on what it is that you chose to do during that session. But I must stress, choosing and asking the right person is really important. And maybe think about asking them to focus on a particular aspect of your session as well, so it gives a bit more direction and could lead to more constructive feedback. Things like how you structure your session, group control, or even just how you choose to explain things. So I think this next tip is probably one of the most overlooked out of all of them. Number 3, just ask people or talk to people and get some ideas from them. I have heard so many incredible discussions that have taken place in staff rooms, all because someone just asked, how do you deal with this? Or does anyone else have trouble with this thing? Or how do people go about explaining this task? And just by prompting that whole discussion, you'll be able to gain and draw on the experience of everyone else that's involved in that conversation, which could be loads of however many years of experience in there. And I'd like to think that outdoor instructors are really nice people and they'd be more than happy to help out. This next tip for continuous development is probably the one which I use the most. However, it does have its limitations. Number 4. Self-reflection. This is all about just taking a moment to reflect on what has happened. Now, this doesn't just have to happen at the very end of a session. I like to think most outdoor instructors are just doing this constantly anyway. So even during the middle of a session, outdoor instructors are just constantly evaluating, looking at the group dynamics and just the general overall situation and just trying to assess what's working, what isn't working, how can we tweak that? Is there anything that needs to be done to make the session safer? Or how can we make it more challenging for those that we're working with? So let's just take a moment to have a think about what sort of questions can help prompt this self-reflection and help us to continually develop. What worked well? How can we build on that? How can I apply that in other contexts? Was there any friction and how can I reduce that? Could I have added more to this session or did I add too much? By constantly analysing yourself and asking yourself these sorts of questions, you'll find that your delivery style and your approach to instructing will continually evolve. The limitation with this is that you might not always know the solutions to these things, but you also might not be able to even identify any of the problems or weaknesses. On top of that, your perspective of what actually happens could be very different to the reality, and you could just be completely unaware of that. Okay? Time for the last tip. Number 5, research. Just being proactive about learning more. Now, there are so many different angles that we can approach this from because there's always something else to learn. And just by doing this, we can enhance our sessions, increase our knowledge of a particular subject, we can get new creative ideas or try and apply things in different contexts. It makes things interesting for us as well as the clients too. But I don't just mean researching things which are directly related to the thing that you coach or you teach. So here are some examples which are directly linked and indirectly linked, which you might consider researching. If you run canoe taster sessions, you might consider researching the design and development process of paddles and boats. You might think about how lakes and rivers are formed, or just different teaching methods. If you guide people out on the hill, then yeah, we can talk about maps and compasses, but we could also talk about the flora and fauna, the geology, or natural navigation. If you work at an indoor climbing wall, you might start thinking about movement in a different way. You could start looking at other forms of outdoor climbing, so alpine or winter climbing, for example. You might even start thinking about phobias, how they're formed, and how we can challenge them as outdoor instructors and help people overcome their fear of heights. Either way, I'd encourage you to think about researching something which interests you, because well, if you're going to do the research, you might as well enjoy it. I'm sure either way you'll find some way of weaving it in to the sessions that you run. The last thing I'd encourage you to consider when thinking about what you're going to research is where you can access this information. Books, online, your workplace, a really overlooked resource there. Instructor 101, you know, there's loads of different resources out there. Like how you choose to access things, I'll leave that up to you. So what have I missed from this list? What other options are there out there for outdoor instructors to help with their continuous development? Let us know in the comments down below. If this video is useful, then please remember to give it a thumbs up, press the like button below, share it with other outdoor instructors, and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on other future content from Instructor 101. There is also now a podcast available called Outdoor Instructor Chat, so I'd encourage you to check that out. That's on YouTube, but also available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a few other different platforms as well, so make sure to search for that too. There's a link below to that. I'd really encourage you, if you did enjoy this video, to check out my other video about accountability, the other key which has been a massive unlock for me as an outdoor instructor to help me develop. But other than that, thank you so much for your support as always, team, and until next time, take care.